in the midst of a sin-tolerant society, and in the midst of a community and a culture where everything is tolerable, it is your job to tell your friends and those around you that fornication will take you to hell. That's true. Adultery will take you to hell. Pornography will take you to hell. Lies, hypocrisy, deception, racism, hatred, envy will take you to hell. But it's also your job to say the blood of Jesus will take you to heaven. That's the power of truth. That's the power of the 17%. The ability to speak truth, even in the midst of a world full of relativism. That's powerful. There was a story that I personally saw on National Geographic. The Discovery Channel had a National Geographic special. And they demonstrated a lion who was enlarging his territory. This lion was ambushed by his enemies. And he was ambushed. In California, we say he was jacked up. Jacked up means, theologically speaking, that he was jacked up. They messed this boy up. And he was bleeding. And the narrator was saying, here lies the lion. He's bleeding profusely. He's mortally wounded, he said, quote unquote. He's not going to make it, he said. And this lion was bleeding. And he was wounded. The narrator's even saying on the program, this lion is so wounded he can't raise his head. He can't lift up his paws and claws. He can't even open up his eyes. He's looking down and he's bleeding and he's dying. Over here are his babies. And they showed his enemies coming this time, not for him because they think he's dying already. They're coming to attack his babies. And they showed his enemies getting closer and closer and closer and closer right before they were about to touch. I mean literally, seconds before they were about to touch and kill his babies, the lion had one last thing going for him. He couldn't raise his head, couldn't open up his eyes, couldn't do absolutely anything except he had one last thing for him. What did he have left? His roar. He didn't even look up. Just looking down bleeding, the lion by instinct recognized that his babies were about to be touched and harmed, and the lions went, and he roared. Immediately when he roared, every single one of the enemies, without exception, ran off. All of them ran. And the narrator says, the enemies of the lion know that as long as the lion can roar, they'll never be able to touch what belongs to him. That's powerful. Silence is not an option. As long as we can tell the truth about Jesus, as long as we can tell people that Jesus is the answer, as long as you're not ashamed of your faith, as long as you're not ashamed to tell people that you are a follower of Jesus, you're a born-again Christian, that Jesus lives in your life, they will never be able to touch what belongs to you. Silence is not an option. Ask your neighbor, are you a pussycat or are you a lion? You got to be able to speak up when there is silence. In the midst of a sin-tolerant society, you got to be able to speak up. You got to be able to usher in that biblical, anointed, ordained roar. That's the power of it. This generation must speak up. You have the spirit to speak truth with love. And yesterday I said it. No matter what rises up against us, your generation, the 17%, I'm going to repeat that part again. You understand that you are the antidote to whatever rises up in your time. So again, I'm going to repeat what I said yesterday. For every Pharaoh, there must be a Moses. And for every Goliath, there must be a David. For every Herod, there must be a Jesus. For every devil that rises up, there is a mightier God that rises up for us. You must speak up and speak truth with love. By the way, not only speak truth, your spirit is not only the spirit of righteousness and the spirit of justice and the spirit of truth, but this different spirit is a visionary spirit. You're going to see, not only are you going to speak what others are not speaking, but you're going to see what others do not see. Your language will determine what you will see. They saw milk and honey. Your language and your vision must be compatible. I'm going to say something that's going to be a little bit harsh. Your vision, by the way, will facilitate your language, but don't get upset with me. You can't look like heaven and speak like hell. Your vision and your language must be compatible. In other words, you can't speak Jerusalem and walk like the Jersey Shore. You know, there has to be a level of compatibility. You can't talk like Esther and walk like the Kardashians. Your talk and your walk must be the same. For when you wake up in the morning, the number one thing you see is that you are a born-again child of God. You are a generation with a different spirit. And I'm about to finish. That generation is not only a visionary spirit, a righteous spirit, a justice spirit, a truth-telling spirit, but it is a conquering spirit. Numbers 14:38, out of all the men who surveyed the land, only Joshua and Caleb survived. That's powerful. Only Joshua and Caleb survived because they saw something that others did not see. They spoke what others were not willing to speak. And when everyone else died, they survived. What you see today and what you say today will determine how long you live tomorrow. It's whether or not we are able to activate the different spirit. You're not just any generation. You are the generation of a different spirit. You are the hope for this nation because you're lifting up the banner of Christ. And that message is still the most transformative message on the planet. There is no greater message than salvation through Christ alone. Being a born-again Christian is not something you do because your parents have done it and because they take you to church. Having a personal relationship with Jesus Christ is the greatest thing you can have in the universe. It empowers you. It enables you to walk up with a different spirit. So I encourage you, Joshua and Caleb, I encourage you, 17 percenters, to rise up, to speak up. I was raised in a small town called Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. I am Samuel from Bethlehem. If you know anything about the Bible, it's pretty funny. So being Samuel from Bethlehem, how can I put this? My school, 2,400 and something students. It was an interesting school. There was a lot of gangs in my school. Everybody was getting high. Everybody was having sex. Everybody was just doing their thing. And my dad was not a pastor. My dad is a Mack truck worker, right? He's retired now, but all he did was make trucks. But he loved God. So my dad would drop me off in school. And every single morning he would drop me off in school. And he would do this. He would take, Hispanic. And he would take his hand and he would put it on my shoulder. He would, mijo, antes que te vayas, voy a orar por ti. And like when you're little, you don't care, right? So my dad's praying for me and he says, Lord, cover him with the blood. Protect him from evil. Fulfill your purpose in his life. And that's cool. That's great. Daddy would pray for me. Every single morning, 7:48 in the morning, my dad would drop me off, pray for me. That's cool when you're in elementary school, you're in kindergarten. But then you go into junior high school. And then you go into high school. And then you're going through puberty. And then you're going through all this stuff. And then you're in 9th grade. And you're in front of all your friends. And your dad, every single morning, is touching you. You don't want your dad to touch you in the morning. I don't care how quick. It's just not right. So, mijo, antes que te vayas, déjame orar por ti. Oh, boy. And so here you are, and I'm a freshman in high school, and dad's like, cover him with the blood, protect him from evil, fulfill your purpose in his life. When I was 16 years old, and my dad gave me a great gift. He gave me back then, that's just old school. He gave me a 1978 Camaro Z28 with Eagle GT tires and, hydraulic shocks. It was awesome. I don't know if you know what Armor All is, but I put so much armor on those seats that you could go through the driver's side and slide right through the passenger side. Bam! I was excited. I had that baby to go. So he gave it to me for my birthday. The next day was school, and I went like, I want to show my friends. I want to go out there in my car. I want to show it off, So I wake up in the morning, I dress up, ready to go, and I'm about to go through the door, and I'm about to leave. I got the keys in my hands, and I'm walking out, no joke, and all of a sudden I go, Mimo! And I go, oh, no. Yeah, Dad? He goes, ¿Para dónde vas? And I'm going like, Dad, did I tell you last night how much I love you? There are fathers, but then there are fathers. And, dude, you really, I'm going to hook you up on Father's Day for the rest of your life. Because you got me, I can't believe you. Do you know what you did? You know what this, do you know this to me? You're not going to let me drive it, are you? He goes, oh yeah, you can. Every day after school you could drive it, but every morning till I can, I'm going to drop you off and school. I go, well, praise the Lord. I'm 16 years old. My dad is dropping me up in front of my friends. Now this time he messed me up. True story. He goes, Miro, they changed my shift. I got to get there a little bit early so I can't drop you off in the alley anymore. I got to drop you up in front of the whole school. I go, Gloria al Señor. So he drops me off in front of my entire school. 2,000 plus kids waiting outside. My dad drops me off. And being Hispanic the way he is, and from his particular Hispanic descendancy, not only does he cover him with the blood, protect him from evil, fulfill the purpose in his life, but el colmo, not only does he do that, he kisses me. He goes, mwah, mwah. And I go like, I go, oh, man. Oh, you know, my friends laugh at me. That's your dad, huh? That's your dad kissing you again, huh? Shut up. So then years later, I find myself with President Bush. And President Bush called me to a meeting. And then the Senate Majority Leader, Bill Frist at that time, he calls me into a meeting. And he's looking, he says, Reverend, do you want a drink? I go, he goes, do you like Coke? I like Coke. Let me get you a Coke. I have the Senate Majority Leader. First I was in the White House with the President of the United States. And then I have the leader of the Senate coming over, not his attendant, him, getting me a drink, serving it for me. I'm a Hispanic kid. I'm a Latino kid, sitting down with the president, sitting down with these people. And we walked away, and I'm sitting down. Literally, I did this. And I'm going, Señor, ¿qué yo hago aquí? What in the world am I doing here? And I heard a still small voice that said, because you have a different spirit. And you have a father with a different spirit who prayed you through. You are here right now. That, my friends, is the message. That if you rise up with a different spirit, we may be a minority, but we are a prophetic minority. God has great purpose for us. You can do all things through Christ who gives you strength. There is no limit to what you can accomplish. We've done some wonderful things for His name's sake. You're going to do greater things than we have ever done. Than we have ever done. So rise up, 17%ers, with a different spirit. At the end of the day, when they write about you, what will they say? The history books, if the Lord tarries, what will they say about your generation? Are you the generation of the 9/11? The generation of the Iraq and Afghanistan war? The generation of Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and all that stuff? No. They're going to say, there was a generation that stood up with a different spirit that changed America for the glory of Christ. God bless you. Love you. Take care. God bless you.